Hi, my name is Shivam Bajaj and you're watching The Social Trigger. Let's get started.
हमारे वीडियोस देखने के लिए सर्च कीजिए द सोशल ट्रिगर, इसे सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन भी जरूर दबाएं।
Today in the video we'll be discussing about the most important topic these days, which is Ukraine and Russia. If it's not over yet, what next? Is the geopolitical issue between Russia and Ukraine only limited to their respective boundaries? No, the answer is definitely not. The geopolitical concern over these two places is not just limited to the boundaries, but it has spread across the entire world like a wildfire. Just look at every major economy, just look at the stock markets, just look at how their commodity pricing are, just look at how the fuel prices are reacting, and it's just a start of a picture, it seems. If very soon, if nothing gets normal and Putin stops his invasion, unless Putin stops his invasion, nothing is gonna be normal very soon in the global markets. Or even if we think that Russia and Ukraine will solve a problem, this supply crisis over fuel will create a large impact on the economy, and it may take a lot of time to get the situation normalized. We cannot even think about what the people of Ukraine are suffering now. I'm not talking about whose problem it may be, but the main suffrage is of the people of Ukraine and, of course, people involved in fighting a war. In a war situation, many a times, the leaders do not think about whether they are pushing their soldiers into the war or they are willing to fight a war for their country. This is a dark truth, but it is true. Likewise, in this situation, it is still unclear that do really the Russian soldiers want to fight a war just because one person wants them to fight a war with Ukraine, or they do not want to. But unfortunately, the fact is, even if they don't, they have to, because it is the orders from the Kremlin. And we all know the upbringing of Vladimir Putin, who was a KGB agent, KGB, which is now a successor to FSB. The invasion of Russia over Ukraine, which started right after ending the Beijing Olympics, do tell the world that the leaders, the China leaders and the Vladimir Putin are together in this invasion. And recently, something dangerously happened, which is a support coming from Kim Jong-un to Vladimir Putin over his invasion in Ukraine. But the question arises, why now is he trying to take over the government and to topple the government or to take over the territory? The answer to this question can be two. One, he wants to make Ukraine a naval base to fight against the NATO countries, because he's been telling NATO group a group of liars for a very long time now. Secondly, he wants to re-establish the Soviet Empire by capturing Ukraine. The answer is, if he wants to capture Ukraine and the objective is to re-establish the empire, then definitely it may unfortunately go beyond occupying Ukraine, and the next target can be Moldova. If it tries to target NATO countries, it will be very difficult for Moscow to handle the situation, because according to the law of the NATO, if you target one nation, you target 30 of them. Now the next thing arises, a lot of countries, as you could see, is against the invasion, but a lot of countries are also supporting the invasion. The list may be small, but they are really supporting the invasion, unfortunately. One of them is, the first one in the list, as you know, is China, which is now calling the sanctions illegal, and the West should remove these sanctions over Moscow, and you know the reasons very well. In this situation also, it's very difficult for India to maintain its sides. The only reason for which we have been abstaining the vote in the parliament. But the question is, till when are we going to do that? Because we can create a lot of problems for us also, but because we can also not let Washington DC hold about its decision and stay away with that decision for a very long time. So let's see what really happens. And the second support also which comes is, as you know, I already told you, it's Kim Jong-un. He also has been supporting Putin over his decision and calling it a rational decision to invade Ukraine. And you again know the very well reason of the psychology of these leaders. Another group of stances are a very mix of stances. One of them is Germany, and it's very difficult for Germany to take one side, because Germany has been getting dependent of energy and oil very lately towards Moscow, and it can be difficult for them to follow or take one particular side. The next is United Arab Emirates, because you definitely know the reason, being one of the biggest oil producers and energy producers in the entire world. In fact, Moscow and UAE keeps on replacing positions on who's coming on the top and who's the second. So you definitely know why they're abstaining their votes again and again. A very recent support to Vladimir Putin's decision is Alexander Lukashenko. Now, who is this Alexander Lukashenko? He is the president of Belarus, a Belarusian president, who has been supporting Russia a lot in this entire invasion over Ukraine. The answer, I think the reason for that looks quite simpler if you look at the map of Ukraine. The Belarus is quite close to the Ukraine, and in fact the border touches together very closely. But why really is Belarus trying to support Moscow? The answer again can be because of the leaning toward the Belashenko's leaning towards Vladimir Putin's decisions. But according to my opinion, I myself find this decision or stance of Belarus to be very foolish, because Russia is such a big country, and Belarus is not. Even if it tries to host nuclear weapons over its sites on Belarus will be the first and the primary target which will be destructed from the nuclear weapons given by Russia. So why is Belarus supporting them? United Nations personal sanctions over Vladimir Putin, his personal oligarchs or the billionaires of Russia, has been very problematic for the economic point of sight, because almost every major corporation in the world have decided to take a corner and support Ukraine in this crisis. But one major problem India can face in the future in fact in the present can be the payment of defense deals to Russia, because as I told you, we are very much dependent on Russia for our military purposes. How can we pay the money to Russian government because of the sanctions? The sanctions which imposed by Joe Biden for Russia can create a lot of problems, because ruble cannot be a valid currency for other countries now, and this can be a problematic situation for India. So for how long India can maintain its absentee side or a balanced position, it has to be coming from Delhi very soon. And we have to take sides, because Washington is also a very strategic and an important partner to India.
If I talk about my perspective of India maintaining its balance still now between both the nations, as PM Narendra Modi doesn't want to spoil the relations with both of them. But now I think that it's high time for our leader, as he has to decide whom he's gonna favor, as also India has been urged by USA to make out its decision after abstaining to United Nations General Assembly on the war, as Ukraine's president also urged Modi to vote against Russia. While Russia helped India in providing many resources, we must not forget that.
Now, while talking to a person who was closely watching this war, I tried to know his perspective about how and why does he support or takes either one of the sides. So let's look what he has to say on this.
And if I would have been given a choice that which nation would I support, then I will definitely go with Russia, as Russia helped India in every possible aspect relating to Kashmir issue, providing resources such as weapons, submarine, artillery, or even fighter jets, and other United Nations Assembly where every country was against us, but not Russia. Russia always supported India in United Nations. Also, another reason that Ukraine voted against India in UNO on Kashmir issue, nuclear test issue, and membership in Permanent Security Council of United Nations Organization. Also, Russia supplies arms to our most powerful enemy, Pakistan. And if I talk about present relevance, many Ukrainians are beating and abusing Indians just because they are trying to escape the war zone and return safely to their motherland. This is very much annoying behavior of Ukraine, that they are stopping our people such that they could get safe.
Roman Abramovich, the Russian oligarch, and many other oligarchs are facing serious sanctions in a lot of countries. Most of these billionaires have been owning yachts, they have bigger bedrooms, they have bigger villas out of Russia, which are now creating problems. The Chelsea owner, Roman Abramovich, has put Chelsea on sale now because he has been facing a lot of troubles and pressures on his reputation for now. The Russian owner of the newspaper, the Evening Standard, is also trying to create a pressure over Vladimir Putin, but he seems to be not listening and taking his own position on the problem. But it's not just India, as I told you, it's also the Russian economy which will be facing a serious consequences for this invasion. I think Vladimir Putin didn't have thought that he would create such a problem for the West. He definitely knew that he is a problem for the West, but he definitely did not know that an isolation like this could be coming in the future, and it is now definitely there. With all the hopes and prayers, I just wanted to talk to you about this situation, and this was the video which I had to offer to you. I hope you like it. If you do leave in the comment section down below about what do you think about this situation and why in the first place this situation arise. I told you my opinion. I want to hear yours as well. Till then, do definitely subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit a bell icon definitely. And if you are listening it on a podcast episode, do subscribe to that podcast wherever you are listening, and visit www.shivambajaj.in for more information. Thank you.